Hey everybody, I'm going to do a two-part video tutorial on a simple modification for the exhaust on a Kawasaki Vulcan S. First part here, I'm going to go over the parts that you're going to need. It's going to cost you about $15 to $20 for these parts, and the project itself is going to take probably 25 to 30 minutes. Just want to make sure everybody is clear going into this that the result of this modification is not going to give anyone the impression that you've gone the route of doing a full aftermarket exhaust system. It's not comparable to what you would hear with a Two Brothers or an Arrow or any of the other aftermarket systems. What this will do is give you an uptick in the output of the exhaust in terms of a slight uptick in the sound. It certainly changes the sound and the richness that you get on the exhaust during engine braking and downshifting, but again, it's not going to lead anyone to believe that you've gone the route of doing a full exhaust modification with an aftermarket product. So that's what actually appealed to me on this. I didn't want something too ridiculously loud, but I was tired of this thing sounding like a sewing machine. The parts you're going to need for this: you're going to need a little hex bit. This happens to be a 5/32. I also used a smaller drill bit to start some pilot holes for doing this modification. I wanted to make sure that I actually used a tapping bit so I can go in with a little bolt and plug these holes back up if I want to. So I ended up with a self-aligning tapping set. Now, you have this larger bit here for making the proper diameter hole, as well as then this tapping bit. This tapping bit happens to be a 5/16 with an 18 thread count per inch offset. So when you go to purchase bolts to put back in it, you want to make sure that you're purchasing the right size little bolts to plug this thing back up. Also, I have some high heat spray paint. So once you put the holes in there, you're going to want to hit them with this. Make sure that you coat the bare metal so you don't get any rusting going on in here. So again, really simple process. 5/32 hex bit, drill bit for a pilot hole, drill bit for the proper diameter hole that you're going to use. If you want to go the route of tapping them so you can plug them back up, make sure you have a tapping bit, make sure you have your spray paint, and then make sure you purchase however many of these little bolts that you want to plug this thing back up. So that's that. Let's kind of get started on what we need to do to make this modification. All right, so getting started on the modification itself. What you're going to do is you're going to come down, take a look at your heat shield. You've got these two stainless steel little screws right here. Those are the two you're going to take out, and then you're just going to pull the heat shield off. So unfortunately, I don't have any way to prop up the camera on my phone here to keep this thing running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in some phases and in some steps. When I get this heat shield off, you're going to see that I've already got some holes that are drilled in here. I am going to add another one for this video and kind of walk through the process. So we'll see how long this takes. Right now, looks like it is 7:58, and let's get started on this step by step. Okay, so we can see it's now 7:59. I've got those two screws out. You're basically just going to get a hold of the heat shield and pull this forward. So just slides right off. There's a little bracket there and in there that this rests on. Make sure you lay that heat shield down face side up. You can see where I've already gone in and put some of these holes in. I've got 6 in there currently. I'm going to add a 7th. I've got 5 of them plugged up. I did only buy 6 of the little bolts to plug it back up. So I'll end up having to go and pick up another one. I've got one empty here because I'm going to use the one that came out of that hole for the sake of this video. So at any rate, now I'm going to take my drill bit to drill the pilot hole. I'm going to put another one over here on the left side, kind of down below, and let's see how long that process takes. So currently 8 o'clock. Okay, so 8:01. You can see I've started to drill that pilot hole. Now I am going to switch over to the larger bit that came with the set and go ahead and get this drill going and finish off getting this hole put in. All right, so I've got this hole drilled. All right, it is, let's see here, 8:05, and I even had to go up and grab a different battery for my drill. So anyway, let's go ahead and tap this, get some threads put. Okay, so it's now 8:08, and I have this tapped, right? So I can actually put a bolt back into it. Now I'm going to hit it with some spray paint, and I'm going to go ahead and get that little bolt put in. Okay, so we're at 8:11. Bolt's back in. I went ahead, hit it with some paint. I'll go back in and clean this up myself in a little bit. So now I've got all these holes plugged except one. And I think ultimately everyone probably wants to hear what this sounds like and how much it changes based off of what you do with the bolts, how many are placed, so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and fire this up. Then, so you can kind of hear the difference, we take one out. Take two out. Take this third one. Four. Five. So you can certainly hear the difference on the rev. And that's that. So, you know, hopefully this is helpful and you can kind of see what you can do with this. Very little money, very little time. Hope this works for you if you want to give it a shot. You know, to each their own, I suppose, and hopefully it works out well for you. Take care, safe riding.